Hey guys, today I'm going to be reviewing 4 books. The first being the Ghost Girl trilogy by Tonya Hurley, Odin's Ravens by K.L. Armstrong and M.A. Marr, Persuasion by Jane Austen, and Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Laini Taylor. Before I get going with these reviews, I will have some annotations down here at the bottom if you decide to skip around, but I will have absolutely no spoilers in any of these reviews. So starting with the Ghost Girl trilogy by Tonya Hurley, the first book being Ghost Girl, then Homecoming, and then Lovesick. First of all, let's just talk about these covers and just the overall design and look of the series. I just love how these books look. Here's the first book. You can just open it and there's the main girl on the front. And then over here is like plastic paper. And then that's how, like a silhouette of Charlotte. And then even in the inside of the book, it's just really girly. It's just a very girly book. And like there's roses framing the border. And then like pink writing at the top of every chapter. I think I would have liked this trilogy back when I was maybe in middle school. I'm reading it now, my late 20s, and I just did not really like this trilogy. It was okay, but I often found it very cheesy and silly and just so trivial. But just to give you a quick summary, the series is about Charlotte Usher, who is a high school student, and one day she eats a gummy bear and she chokes on it and she dies and she becomes a ghost. So all of these books are about Charlotte handling her life as a ghost and trying to help the living and basically come to terms with her own death. I did not really like this first book that much. I just found a lot of the characters utterly despicable. But then it's funny because the second book in this series I really enjoyed. I thought there was some massive character development and the writing was so much better, and I actually found myself really liking the characters. And then I did like this third book. I liked it a heck of a lot better than the first book, but I don't think it compared anywhere near to the middle book. But I do still think that the third book had a good ending, a satisfying ending. There's a blurb here on the back and it says, Tim Burton and Edgar Allan Poe devotees will die for this fantastic, phantasmal read. I do think if you're a goth kid and you do love things like Edgar Allan Poe and Tim Burton, this trilogy is very reminiscent of that sort of style. And it's very quirky in its humor. You can't really take things too seriously. So yeah, just a very cute series. It did have its highs and lows. Like I said, if you're a middle schooler, you'll probably really love this trilogy. I just felt like I was way too old for it at the time. So moving on to my next review, and it is on Odin's Ravens, which is book 2 in the Blackwell Pages series by K.L. Armstrong and M.A. Marr. Obviously this is the second book in the series. I can't really go into too much lengthy detail with it. Just to let you know, this whole series is a very Percy Jackson-like series. It's about these kids who are descendants of Norse gods. Unlike the Percy Jackson series, though, these kids are not like the sons and daughters of the Norse gods. They're just descended down from, basically. But yeah, like Percy Jackson, this series is full of fun humor and adventure and great characters. So without going into spoilers, I did really enjoy this second book. It pretty much just takes off immediately after the events of book 1. You don't get much of a recap of the previous book, which was nice. I feel like any sort of recap would have just bogged the book down and made it slow at the beginning, so yeah, it just heads right into things, which was nice. This book also continues further character development of the main kids involved in their quest. This book focuses a lot on the kids contemplating and analyzing their specific purpose within the group. And kind of some of the kids are facing a crisis because they feel like they don't belong in the group anymore. And if you watched my review for the very first book in the series, I said Finn was my favorite character, and that's still the case in this book as well. Overall, a great second installment, and cannot wait for the third book. Next, moving on to Persuasion by Jane Austen. It's been 8 years since Anne Elliot turned down Captain Frederick Wentworth's marriage proposal. They are reunited years later, and neither of them know if their feelings are still lingering. Persuasion is Jane Austen's final novel, and it covers things like social pretensions, class systems, and as always, love. You guys, I gave this book 1 star. Oh my god, I was so disappointed. I really love Pride and Prejudice and Sense and Sensibility. Those are the only 2 Austen books that I've read, but I still really enjoyed them. And I just didn't understand this book. I didn't get it. I don't get the hype. A lot of people say that Persuasion is their favorite Jane Austen, and I don't understand why. I found it so incredibly dull and boring, and nothing ever happened. The most exciting thing that even happened in this book, some woman is walking on like this really tall wall for some reason. I don't know why. She has a really long skirt. She should know better. And her skirts get caught up in her legs, I guess, and then she falls, and there's this whole big drama about is she dead or in a coma or something. That was the most thrilling thing. And was I really supposed to care for Anne and Wentworth and their relationship? I just found them really dull and boring as well, just like the plot. And for some reason, I was having a hard time keeping a lot of the characters straight. I really don't know why. I was getting quite a few of them confused. I don't know if maybe my dislike of this book has to do with the fact that I have never seen an adaptation, whether that be a movie or television adaptation for this book, whereas I've seen adaptations for Pride and Prejudice and Sense and Sensibility. So yeah, I don't know if maybe had I viewed some sort of adaptation, my going into this book would have been easier, and I would have understood it more and not been so bored. Who knows? Yeah, I do feel really guilty though, giving a Jane Austen book 1 star. Ugh, don't kill me, you guys. And last, I'm going to be talking about Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Laini Taylor. Probably one of the most hyped books on BookTube. So yeah, I had to get my hands on this one. This story opens up in Prague, and it's about a young woman who is an art student. Her name's Karu. She has awesome blue hair. She's also a linguist and a girl with a very active imagination. But Karu's art book sketches of monsters are actually real. When Karu is not a student, she is out and about collecting teeth for the man who has raised her. Why, she doesn't know, but Karu finds herself in this otherworldly battle between angels and demons. This book was so conflicting. Part of me really loved it. I just loved how genius and unique it was. But then part of me, I don't know, I found myself kind of getting a bit frustrated and kind of annoyed. Let me put it this way. Laini Taylor's writing, stunning, beautiful, descriptive, so different, I think, from most YA writing. And just the overall premise and look and feel and the characters of the book were just so fascinating. For some reason, I had a totally different idea about what this book was even about, so I was pleasantly surprised how things kind of unfolded. But yeah, even though I do feel like her writing was stunning and beautiful, there were a few occasions where I felt like her writing got a bit sloppy, and sometimes I had trouble following exactly what was going on occasion. It's hard to talk about this book without giving away spoilers, so I'm going to see how I can do this. Let me put it this way. I loved the first half of the book, but I also loved the second half of the book. This is where my conflict is coming into play. I almost feel like the 2 halves of this book could have been 2 whole different books, if that makes any sense. I feel like the first half of the book could have been its own book, its own story. But then I also feel like the second half of the book could have worked on its own, away entirely from the first half. I found myself actually being far more by the second half of the novel, and part of me kind of hoped once I was done with the second half, I was like, you know what, I would prefer to have read about this second half far more than the first half in some ways. I hope that makes sense. I feel like it's not making sense. Like I said, it's hard not to go into spoilers with this book. But yeah, what I'm saying is the second half was just so good, so original, so unique that was what captured me more, even though I did love the first half. So yeah, I did really enjoy this book. I think I understand the hype. But yeah, I was just kind of confused with my feelings as far as the direction and the turn this book took. Yeah, if you want to go more into spoiler territory, just go to my Goodreads and read my review on this. Maybe that would make more sense than my actual physical video review. But yeah, I do recommend giving this series a shot. Like I keep saying, it is very unique and original in some ways. It does have some classic YA tropes that do go on kind of around the middle, but yeah, I do think Laini Taylor's writing is unique and different enough, and she has a really fascinating set of characters, and like I keep saying, the second half of the novel is what really kind of struck me personally. I think a lot of people don't like the second half, but I personally loved it and preferred it. So yeah, that's it for this group of reviews. Have you read any of these books? Do you want to read any of them? Just let me know in the comments below. So that's it for this review. I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you liked this book review, you may like these other book reviews. Bye guys.